this is our premise right here. When we two gap up front, okay, whether it be to both sides or one side, we can certainly do this. We can two gap here and two gap here, and we could be in cover 3. And we would already be pre-rotated to the strong safety. The old cover 3, which ain't, the old standby cover 3, which I imagine some of you are still using because hell, it's still certainly good coverage. But we can do this. We can play a 6 technique right here, and play a 4 technique right here, and get fast outside support. And then on the back side of it, we can play a shade nose and a 5 technique. And then we can do with this backer basically what we wanted to do with him. So here we would be two gapping, and the whole premise of two gapping is make the ball work outside. Cover 2, we could two gap and play cover 2 and have a hard corner. We have hard corner support. So when we two gap, and what we do when we two gap with the fronts, we play this. The mode of operation is read attack. That's what we call read attack. We're now trying to do this. We're playing the inside gaps first. And basically, I think of two gap this way. And this might be something that the way you think of it. If we were to stunt this guy here and stunt this guy here and cause the ball to spill, scrape the linebacker and do that right there, that's basically what a two gap guy would do. He'd play the inside gap first. The only reason I like to two gap better than I do stunt is I like to whip this guy, and when the ball crosses right here, he's still alive. When the ball crosses, he's still alive right here. Here, if they don't do this really well, and the other thing is the wash factor. You don't have the wash factor playing two gap that you do when you stunt the guys inside. An easy block for an offensive lineman is if coach went inside gap right here, and I just took him down and washed him down right there. I mean, that ain't nothing. That's easy as hell for me. But I like, Coach Armstrong and Coach Saban used to say to me, Pete, you want to stunt that side or you let a two gap? I said, Coach, I let a two gap. Why you want to do that? Well, I don't want him to get washed. Okay, that's good enough for him. It's easy to wash a guy who's got an inside gap on him like that. So we play, this is what we call read attack. It's a two gap technique. And we talked about it last night. The hand placement is we want both hands. When we're two gapping, we want the thumbs up and we want the hands in the armpits. That's where we want to place the hands. And y'all saw that last night. There's some good film on it. Had the guys really getting the hands in place like that. And our rule is waist up. If the blocker attacks from the waist up, the thumbs are up. If the blocker attacks from the waist down, the thumbs are down. And that's our rule. Supination, holding a bowl of soup. That's how I learned it. That's pronation, that's supination. And a good thing I like to always think about is if I'm two gapping and you were not there and I shot my hands, at some point in time, if I never made contact with the blocker, at some point in time, the heels of my hands would run into each other, would hit each other like this. So that's the angle that you want them to go at. Okay? And you want the elbows rolled inward. If you roll the elbows outside, then you become susceptible to getting them broken and the guy getting in your chest. If you roll them inward, you can hold a freight train off. So you want the elbows rolled in and you want your thumbs up. And placement, like I say, is armpits when we're right here. Now, when we one gap, conversely from this, when we're one gapping, first of all, we want people lined up with width. Our 3s and our 5s, if coach is a guard and I'm the right 3 technique here, I want to be at least this wide. I want my inside foot on his outside foot. Okay? And we talked about this last night. Our focus point, our key is the tip of his pad. Okay? Now, Chris, I'm going to tell you, a lot of people are going to tell you via the neck. Okay? If I get out here, I'm getting out here for a reason. Why would I want to charge at the via his neck? Where he could reach me? That's the only reason I know. We want to, this is our focal point right here, is the tip of that pad. And it's just like the hat. If you're looking at my pad, Coach, look at my pad right here. So he's the right three now. That pad, and I tell the guys, you know, he can only go four directions. All right? If he's the right three, this is the inside. He can cut you off, he can pull inside, but that's all inside direction. He can reach, he can pull outside, that's all outside direction. He can go straight ahead, which is a base block or party to a combo, but that's straight ahead. The other direction he can go in is back up, and that's pass block. And unless his ass has got wings, he ain't going nowhere else. It's one of those four directions. That's just what it is. So when the guy lines up, when I line up, I know there ain't but four places you can go. I've already decided that. I've already taught him that. He knows right now his guard can go in four directions. He can go at me, he can go back, he can go in, or he can go out. And I think when you make it that small, I call it a small world. I want him to have small, I want him to be totally focused on this guy right here. And I wanted his world to be small. I was talking to a friend of mine one time, he was talking about a baseball pitcher, and he said that he, in the guy's windup, if in his stretch, if it was a runner at third, he would stretch, and he rather than focus on the plate, and he did this, he changed it to, this was his movement, and it cut down his field of vision. And he was more focused, rather than on third, he was focused on throwing the ball to the, and thinking about throwing the ball to the plate, which I think is really good. I want it to be a small world for him. I want it to be a small world. And so when we got them in 3s, 5s, and 9s, and let me throw this out there to you too. Here's the way we number, okay? It don't mean it's right, it's just the way we number. A zero on the guards is a 2, on the tackle's a 4, on the tight end is a 6. 0s, 2s, 4s, and 6, these are 2-gap players. Then when our outside shades, our 1s, our 3s, our 5s, and our 9s, those are 1-gap players. These are 2-gappers. These are 1-gappers. Okay? So if the defense called for it, it would be 2-gap technique. It would be, 2-gap alignment. The technique would be read attack. If it was 1-gap, it would be attack, react. Now, when we're in 1-gap defense, here's the bubble. We would do this. When we're in 1-gap defense, we're now, rather than a hard corner or a fast support outside safety, we now have a safety who is having a gap in the box, a down safety. And that is so popular now that I assume y'all are all doing that. Huh? You play the down safety on run defense, okay? Which means you got to lock up man, and it means this: you have to really coach on play action pass, because you sure want that safety. You don't want that middle of the field being vulnerable to play action pass. But we're outside location, outside location, outside location, outside. Really, what we want the ball to do now, rather than spill, we want the ball now to funnel inside. And by alignment, we're basically talking them into going where we want them to go. Coach Arnsberger, God bless him, he's always having to deal with my ass. I remember him telling me one time, he said, Pete, get them to go where you want them to go. Don't get them now. Don't talk them into doing something you don't want them to do, that you're not geared up to do. And I thought, you know, boy, is that smart. Is that smart? What a smart football coach. I used to do this when he was there at LSU. I would fake the blitz. I'd have the strong safety up there, and he's faking all this stuff, you know, and we're playing zone depth out here, and they're throwing hitches and all, and we're putting that damn corner out there on the island, tackle guy, and we're faking, we're talking them into doing things that we're really not lined up to defend. And he'd say, you know, you're talking them into throwing their damn hot package, and you're playing zone defense, and you got Steve Rehage, who wants to blitz every down, up there trying to fake the blitz. If you do fake the blitz, be in a coverage that you can do and handle what you talk them into doing. That made so much sense to me. It really did. And this is what we try to do with our one gap and two gap defense. Our two gap defense is to spill to fast support. Our one gap defense is to funnel the ball back inside to the unblocked player, which is safe. And I was laughing last night with you guys about hearing the people on TV and all that, those broadcasters that say, well, the safety's making all the tackles. They sure don't have very good linebackers, or they, you know, what the hell, we got him. He's the unblocked guy. We want him to make the tackles. That's why we got his ass in there. He's in the box. He's in the box being an unblocked player. I mean, that's why he's making tackles. It's by design. So we're trying to play a combination. And then when I say this, when we play two gap, like I showed you here, we may play two gap to one side and play one gap to the other side. It ain't necessarily that we play two gap everywhere. And this is LSU's base run defense right here. And it's what we really believe. If you say, I'm going to run the ball, we'd be in weak eagle. And we'd have a down, make an 8-man front with a down safety and weak eagle. It's great against the cutbacks, and you're really good to the front side. It's just the best run. It's the best run configuration I can think of. Now, are we going to be in that if it's long yardage? No. If it's over 3rd and 5 with Coach Armstrong, with Coach Saban, the nickel guy's going to be on the field, and you're going to have nickel people on the field. If it's 3rd and 7, it's going to be the nickel back, or maybe the dime back's going to be on the field, and guess who else is going to be out there? The rabbits. Your pass rushing rabbits going to be out there. So, you know, I mean, we're going to do different things based on down and distance, but we're just talking generally about an opponent who's a run opponent. We're going to employ both of these, and we're our technique with our front people. Because I know this, guys. If I'm head up and I got inside gap responsibility right there, I can't come up the field and play the inside gap. He's going to cut me. He's going to get me. I can't play the inside. I can read attack now and do that. And when we play the backside gap, we play attack react. Now I can come up the field. We talked about last night. I think really this was interesting to a couple of guys. Our nose guard, if we attack the center and he reaches and it's attack react, then now he plays the back door and the linebacker fits off of him, but he plays the back door. If we want him to play the front door, we play read attack, and now when this guy reaches, he plays the front side 8, and the linebacker now is a backdoor fitter playing the cutback. But you know, I don't believe in asking kids to do things that you know damn well it ain't possible. And I've worked for guys that were good head football coaches and all that stuff that didn't understand it. But you can't go up the damn field. If I go up the field and coach is going down the field right here, I'm going to be behind the block. I don't give a damn. You can have a big red S on your chest and be over here, and you're still going to be behind the block. So everything's coordinated between. Here's the way our coordination. We talk about the front and the linebacker being coordinated as far as gap responsibility, and then we want the fronts and the linebackers coordinated with what we're working in the secondary. And we're either going to funnel the ball to the outside and be in a coverage that would handle that, or funnel the ball to the inside and be in a coverage that we want to handle that with. Okay? Now, another thing that we talked about last night that everybody, I knew that I was going to get a rise out of people when I said this. I knew that there was going to be people in there that disagreed with me, and there was, and that's fine. There ain't nothing wrong with it. But the first thing we talk about to our front people is this. If we're in attack-react defense, the first thing that we talk about is squeezing the dime between the cheeks. We're going to come out of our hips first. It's hands, hips, then feet. And on the film last night, you guys saw that where because this is our theory. And I've coached guys, I've followed a couple of guys who taught this, and buddy, it was really hard to get it fixed, okay? That taught replace the down hand with the back foot. And when you do that, what happens to them is just what happened to me. Your pads come up and your chest becomes exposed. Unless you're a contortionist, you can't do that. Now, when we go to jets, when it's long yardage, when it's obvious pass and things like that, and we say, okay, we call that call right there. Jets. Now we're going to long step on the snap of the ball. Because the pads are going to come up, but guess what? We know that they're going to throw the football. It's not a run. Also, when we call jets, and you might find this interesting, Chris, when we make a jet call with the front people, we asking this guy right here to really blaze off the line of scrimmage for the first couple of steps, okay? And we can't ask this guy playing right defensive end, okay, playing right defensive end to jet up the field and spill the counter rope. Can't ask him to do that. That's impossible for him to do a good job at both of those things. He can do one or he can do the other. But to do both of them, he can't do both of those effectively. Basically, if you chew his butt out, what he won't do is jet up the field. You're on his butt about not spilling the damn. So he can't spill it. So now the linebackers know this. And this is just an example. Let's say the crash five on that side right there. He's coming, and he normally, with two blockers, either this guy, this guy, would be following, he'd be on the hip like that, and this guy's blocked down. Well, if we really want to get him up this field, if we want him to do what we call the shallow man principle, once he comes up this field and he sees that, he wants to attack the upfield knee of the lead blocker, and he wants to spill the ball. That's his base way of doing it. Now, I just said something, guys. This is called shallow man principle. We want to come up the field. He blocks down. We begin to squeeze. We see the O guard, and we see another guy. We want to attack the upfield knee. Now, we still want the ball spilled. I don't want him to get way up the field. But we want to come and attack the upfield knee, because here's what we want to do. We know that this guy is going to scrape to fit out here. We also know that they're going to run the counter and he's going to have a back on him right here. We don't want this guy on him and this guy, him having to tackle that guy. So we want to affect the second block. Does that make any sense to you? We want to affect the second block counter or the OT. So the crash five, that's what you played. Y'all didn't call it that, but I talked to one of your coaches today. That's what y'all played, a tilt five. We call it a crash five. His aiming point is the outside knee of the imaginary split back. Like they went split, that's his angle. Now he comes up that field, this guy blocks down. He wants to squeeze and go get the upfield knee, the shallow man principle. And the second blocker will have to run the hump or will collision him or something. And when the linebacker fits over the top, he don't have a blocker and a back to deal with. Because that's difficult for the guy. Okay? Now, that's base. Now, if we go jets, he's going to come hard, and if they run this, he now becomes a leverage player. The linebacker, rather than scrape to fit over the top, becomes now a scrape to fit player. He's going to work inside because now we got him outside. Because we didn't call jets, we called it because we thought they were going to throw the football. And we wanted this guy up the field and aggressive. So when the linebacker hears jets, he knows rather than fitting over the top, he now fits inside. It changes his style of play. Does that make any sense to you guys? Okay. And I've said it over and over in the last 2 weeks since I've been here, and 47 lectures. That's what it feels like. Anyhow, the fit of the linebacker with the down guy that's what we're all looking for. You know, we don't want two in one gap or none in one gap, and it's all fitting off the front. The linebackers fit, and I think I said this the other day, because over at Alabama when Coach Bryant was there, they called 907 fit drill. Fit drill. And the reason they called it fit drill was because that's what it was. It was the fronts fitting in their gaps and the linebackers fitting in their gaps. Fitting off the fronts. Okay? And rather than call it 907 or inside drill or middle drill or whatever, it was called fit drill because that's what they were working on. Fitting the inside runs. But jets is a call that tells everybody we're jetting up the field through our gap responsibility. And we're rushing the passer. Now we're going to long step. And that's how I got around to talking about jets. We're going to long step with that back foot on the snap of the ball. Not when we're thinking it's going to be a run. Not when we're thinking it's going to be a run. When it's going to be a run, it's hips, hands, then staggered foot. And the staggered foot should come last, and it should come really back to parallel. After he strikes the guy, it should come back to parallel.
Can you go over the read and attack? The progression for that? Is that it? Hands, hips? That's attack, react, right?
It's hips, hands, that's attack, react.
But how about the read attack?
Okay, the read attack now is just, we're going to attack the blocker at his angle of release. Okay? So, and Coach, the reason I call it read attack is because the worst thing in the world is catch and soft. Those are two words I truly, truly hate. I mean, truly hate. So I'm going to sit in here and I'm near head up on you anytime I'm playing two-gap. And I'm going to read that hat. And if that hat works this way, that hat, my knees and your head have a string to them. Okay? So if your head and you work that way, that foot steps. If your head works that way, that foot steps. If your head works this way, I come out of my hips. And then I step back to parallel. Okay? But we're reading, and people certainly understand that when you're playing a stand-up six or whatever on the tight end. When you're here and doing it, it's the same way for the down guy. It's the same way. And I hear coaches tell people, don't let him get your head by you. You know, and that's a bad coaching point now. It's a bad coaching point because it is. If he goes real flat, he's got no power. He may get his head by me, but I'm going to turn his body in the hole because he's so flat. And he may get his head by me, but that don't matter. If his nose and his rear end ain't in a straight line on me, he's got no power. He has no power. So that's the way we two-gap. We read him and we attack him at his point of release. Read the blocker and attack. Read, attack. Not catch and not soft and all that crap, okay? That's a two-gap technique. And that's what I said. We don't get him up the field and give him inside gap responsibility. We just don't do that. Because he's going to get cut off, just like we said about the nose. When he's playing zero and he's got the front side, he's read attack. When he's attack react, and the reach block goes this way, he's always going to be hanging on the back door. and the linebacker knows what technique he's playing. And their fits are based on, is he two-gapper or is he a one-gapper? And then when you enlarge the picture, the linebacker in the front are really hooked up, whether it's two-gap or one-gap. And then when you enlarge the picture, and you say this, now the secondary, because you're one-gap in here, we want the ball thrown to the inside. So the secondary, the coverage that we're playing is hooked up to the alignment and the technique that the linemen and linebackers are working on. We're two-gapping. Here, the support is outside, and we're two-gapping in here. Our theory is to spell the ball to the unblocked player right there. So now we're still hooked up with the coverage. Ain't nobody saying nothing. Does that make any sense? Or is it like Jackie Sherrill, like I asked y'all last night about Jackie Sherrill? Jackie always had this thing he'd ask the kids. Would you like to do that? Anybody like to do that? Anybody wouldn't like to do that? Anybody give a shit? I used to laugh, boy, but I used
Coach,
to laugh.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How much two-gapping do you do?
A lot.
A lot.
In rundowns, we do a lot.
Uh-huh.
We don't two gaps all the way across the board either. Now you have to understand. I mean, it may be, one side may be two gap and one side may be one gap.
Okay.
Like shade defense. Like the first thing I drew, Coach. A 4 and a 6, they're two gappers. You got a 1 technique and a 5 and a walked off linebacker. So basically, right here you're one gapping to this side and you're two gapping to that side. But you're set up that way in coverage. Because you got fast support to that side, to the two gap side, and you got a square corner over here to the one gap side. You're slower support to the one gap side, right? You didn't nod your head. Right. Again, it's hooked up. Two gap and one gap's hooked up with what kind of coverage you get. Because it's based on where you want the ball to go.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've never heard that done before like that. It's an interesting concept. Yeah.
You two gap in your eagle?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you combo.
You can do that, Coach, and let me show you. Here's a reason I think that two gapping and eagle is helpful to you sometimes. Let's say that we're in a situation like this, to the split inside. There's your 3 and 5, and there's your inside backs. And you got doubles out here, and you want to get this guy underneath number 2 quickly. All we have to do here is make a call to the 3 technique. He comes in here now, he becomes a 2-gapper. He gets here, and he's a man closer to his drop. All he's got to do is tell the damn tackle. Let's say we're having problems. This happened to us over at Alabama one time, and it solved the problem. It was really amazing. We were under was what we were playing. We were having a problem with the roll back this way. We wanted a big body in the A gap. We just did this. We started 2-gapping this guy. We move this guy. We just swapped places with him. Stop that damn roll back into the A too now. Because we put a big guy here. We put a big guy here who's an A-gap player. And now we made the ball bounce one hole wide. We can even do this. Now we make the ball bounce. So we could make the adjustment 2-gap the tackle or make the adjustment 2-gap the end and walk the linebacker right there.
2-gap always takes the inside though?
He's inside gap first.
Okay.
Yeah. He's inside gap first. Exactly. Yes. He wants his nose on the inside ear. Okay? And he's inside first because that's where the ball is. That's the first gap to be threatened. And see, I don't have my tape. I wish I had my tape. You'd see some 2-gappers. And these guys were in there last night. We're going to play both A's. We're going to play both B's. I mean, y'all saw it last night. I mean, we played this gap, and when the ball worked to the other gap, we crossed and played that gap. Of course, you got to get the blocker dash with it. That's first things first. But location, this is a big help in coverage a lot of times. And you don't have to move both of them. Because we think this, we can walk this linebacker, play him in a 5, play him in a 2, and leave the big gap, and he can fold back to the big gap on the cutback. Ain't nothing. I mean, he can do that easy. He can fold back in there and be the hitter on the big end. But if you can't, you can always two-gap this guy, two-gap this guy, and walk this guy. We always do this. This is a rule too, Coach. This is also a rule of ours. Whenever you've got this formation, which we call silver, when you got this formation and you in under defense, this guy now becomes a two-gapper, okay? And the linebacker walks here. That's one of Coach Saban's rules. You always put him in a two-gap. And you never leave him in a one-gap technique. You put him in a two-gap and walk the linebacker. Again, silver formation to the weak side, away from the bubble.
The end with two gap for the tight end.
Yes. Away from the bubble. Away from the bubble.
What kind of adjustments would you make if the offensive line was back way out the line?
We talked about that last night too, and here's what I'm gonna go over that again because I don't guess it'll bore nobody that heard it last night. Here's the first thing on Sunday that I do. You'll find this interesting because this is what you're talking about. The first thing that I try to do on Sunday night, I want to know about the opponent. And here's what the first thing I want to know about. I just learned to spell that word last week. I did. I've been spelling that word wrong all my life. Here's what I've been spelling. And when I made that teaching film with my TV guy, he's a TV commercial guy, and he just started helping me because my guy at LSU graduated, but he just started helping me. And he looked at it, he said, "That's not spelled right, Pete." And I said, "You spell that word like that?" He said, "Well, here's the dictionary." He looked it up, and sure enough. So I'm only 62, I just learned how to spell it. I guess you never took learn it. You're too old to learn though, huh? But vertical alignment, and that's what you're talking about. Depth off the football. And the other thing is horizontal alignment. And any tips on horizontal alignment? Splits, things like that. That's the first thing I start with on the opponent. Not the plays they're running, not the formations they're using, but vertical and horizontal alignment. Now, one of the reasons that I think that their vertical alignment is important, and I talked about this last night, when you go against Tennessee, first of all, he's about that big, and he's always going to be illegal. He's always going to be back too far.
Yep.
Okay? So the first thing I want the scout team to do is start simulating that just like it is. And I tell the kids, when you line up on the football, when we're playing against Tennessee, you want to make dang sure that you're lining up on the football. Because if you line up in relation to this 300-plus pounder right here, what's going to happen is you're going to be in the football. So we start immediately working on that. Immediately. Okay? And it's usually the tackle to the split inside who's protecting the blind side of the quarterback. And I told him a story last night. Marquise Hill, great player. I recruited Marquise. I coached him. He came out early this year. I was really disappointed in that. Marquise he was on a lot of teaching film I used today. He's 6'7", weighs about 260 pounds. I mean, one big dude, boy, I'm telling you. And he's going to be an outstanding pro. He's just really not ready to come out. I'm sorry he came out. I really am. Great kid. But I told him he was a freshman. And we were playing 3 years ago. He's a freshman. We were playing Tennessee. And we talked about this in the meeting, and we talked about that tackle. And we talked about lining up, being sure that you're lining up in relation to the football as opposed to lining up in relation to the tackle. He went in the game, had a really nice play on the first play of the game, and the flag went out. And guess what? He lined up in the football because he lined up in relation to the play, not on the football. Now, Coach, let me tell you, you weren't in there, I don't think. There's two things that I work on in every single drill that we do, every single drill, is hard count and alignment. And in the Southeastern Conference, at a place like LSU that averages 92,000 people a game, we can have officials on the field. They're always out there, and I ask them, hey, when I got one lined up offsides, I want to know right now. Because I believe about practice. Practice is where you fix them things. I'd much rather fix them in practice than have to worry about them on Saturday. Don't fix them in the game. Fix them in practice. So those guys, so they throw the flag, and I tell number 97. Now, let me tell you, I don't walk over at a 97 and punch him and raise hell at him, because practice is where he wouldn't need me if he could do everything right. Shit, I wouldn't have a good job. So he's going to make mistakes, okay? But make them in practice. Because then we can fix them, and it don't cost you anything. Young coaches, I think young coaches let that affect them sometimes, Chris. They pitch a damn fit on a guy in practice and everything. Really, guys, you'd rather him make it in practice where you can get it fixed and it don't cost you 5 yards. Now, I'm not saying that you don't coach him out of that and that you don't make an example of that. One year at LSU, Mike Archer was a head coach. I don't know where y'all remember Mike. Mike's been with the Steelers for a number of years. He's now at Kentucky. Mike, great, one of the greatest people I ever met in my whole life. Mike was a young head coach, and he made a real mistake. His first year, he won 11 games his first year, and that's a mistake. You should never win that many your first time out, because it's a hard act to follow, to tell you the truth. The next year, his second year, we won the Southeastern Conference Championship. That really made his next years, really, because that's awful hard when you start off being that good. A lot of times it'd be just a good idea to change jobs, because you could probably get you a damn good one right about that time, because they think you're pretty good. Mac Brown has always done a much better job of that. Mac went to Tulane. He didn't win a game for 2 years, and then when he went 6-6, they thought he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. He went to North Carolina. He went 1-10 and 0-10. And then when he started winning at North Carolina, they thought he was the best thing going. The mistake he made, went out there in Texas and won too quick. And now they own him when he wins 9 games, But anyhow, it's probably kind of strange to watch that kind of stuff. But Mike Archer, and what the hell was I going to talk about? Oh shit!
You give me this old guy.
Yeah, I had one of them moments, boy.
About yelling at players.
Oh, I know what it was. Yeah, thank you. We were scrimmaging in the spring, and we were we just won the conference championship, and we'd lost some defensive players. Actually, it was '86 we won the conference championship, and we lost a number of good players. It was the spring of '87. No, the spring of the spring of '86 going into the fall of '87. And we were having a rough day at scrimmaging, and we were doing some coming out defense and coming out offense, bringing the ball off the goal line. And we had a really nice play, and we finally got the damn offense stopped and everything. And Mike said, and the official threw the flag, and we had an offside penalty. Lined in the ball, offside penalty. And Mike, God bless him, what a great guy, he said, that's all right, don't put the flag away, it's okay. And the official had already said, the kids already heard it. He said, put the flag away, we won't count down, And I said, Coach Archer, if you don't mind, let's count down. And I walked over in the huddle, because I'm coordinating the defense at the time. I walked over in the huddle, I said, guys, now we just got these people stopped. And we had a couple great plays to get them stopped. But we also just made a critical error. And I want to walk this ball all 5 yards and give these people a first down. Because, guys, get things fixed in practice. Get them fixed in practice. I'd rather fix them in practice. I really believe this. The greatest thing in the world to do is work uphill where you can play downhill. So make things difficult, make things exact in practice, and playing is much easier for guys. And Mike meant that he was trying to be helpful to me, and I didn't mean to be disrespectful to him either. That wasn't the point. I just wanted the guys to realize we had finally stopped them and kept them down there like we wanted to. But because we made a foolish penalty, it cost us. And I was telling the guys the other night, it cost us SEC championship in 1987. We were playing Alabama, and it's the only game we lost the whole year. We were playing Alabama, and they got the ball on our 3-yard line, and it's It's third down and about 2. And they run the ball to the right. And the kids over here do a great job. And we stop them for no gain, maybe a yard loss. And the right defensive end over here has his hand in the football. And the official throws the flag, penalizes us half the distance to the goal. And it's field goal time. And we lose the game 16-10. It's field goal time. But now it's 5-yard penalty. And so they now have a fresh set of downs, and they get the ball in the end zone, and eventually win the ball game 16-10. Well, you know, I have a clinic talk that I do on goal line short yardage, and I use that clip. I show the official coming in and calling it and everything, and spotting it and everything, because it's when I do the talk, I'm talking about things to work on. Always, when we work goal line, we always, and if I can't afford an official to come out there, then I'm going to get me a manager or hurt player or somebody who's going to watch that and make those calls. If you'll fix that in practice, it won't get to be such a big thing for you. And you know, you can't let them do this. Coach is the manager, and he comes in and tells me, 97 was offsides. You can't let 97 get mad with that manager either. That's your job to handle that too. Because all he's doing is what I ask him to do. You want to get mad with me or yourself. You're the one that's offsides. One of the things I've learned over the years too, Coach, is that you always want to be careful on the goal line, guys. You always want to be careful on the goal line, because one of the great tricks that people do on offense is this. The center gets down there and everybody's lined up early on the goal line, and he pushes the ball forward. And I promise you the official will not
Never see it.
never see it. And the linesman will call your guys in the ball if you do. That's actually what happened in Alabama. The guy moved the ball forward. And Tommy Lorendo, I know who made the call of it. Tommy Lorendo made the call. I saw it then. Eric Hill's hand in the ball, and he called it, and it was a costly penalty for him. So we always talking to him about not letting the center move the ball forward. We cover that in practice. We try to fix that in practice where we don't have to fix it in the game. Okay? So I would suggest that you know this, and we talked about this too the other night. I try to do this. I try to get the guys to know enough about formation as this right here. They're always looking in the backfield when the offense comes out of the huddle. And the key is this. Is there one back in the backfield, or is there two backs in the backfield? If there's one back in the backfield, here's what they know. They know that there's no lead plays. There's no power plays. Because there's no lead back. If there's two backs in the backfield, there's always that possibility. Backfield sets take away or add to possibilities. If there's two backs back there, there's always a possibility of ISO. There's always a possibility of the power. If there's one back there, that's not part of their offense. My kids know that. And there's certain things that they can eliminate from their mind. If the tilt nose is playing right here, and there's two backs in the backfield, and there's a tight horizontal splits, or tight right here, and it's a team that runs the ISO or the lead play, then this old boy right here, I promise you, will anticipate, not guess, but anticipate the possibility of a double team and a lead play. If there's one back in the backfield, he ain't gonna anticipate that. Because there's one back here, there's none of this. What he's gonna anticipate is scoop. See, I think if you can eliminate from their minds things that can't happen, it's like this, like the 3 technique, knowing the guard is only 4 directions he can go, unless he's got wings. That's why I say that, see, just because they remember that. They wouldn't remember the other, but they remember that. But you can eliminate some things by formation. Okay? And then the other thing, Coach, and I don't know where you and when we were talking about, the other thing I want him to know is this. Am I to the 3-man surface or am I to the 2-man surface? If I'm the 5 technique to the 2-man surface, to the 3-man surface, I know that there's a tight end tackle, all combo and double team possibility. And if it's a lead back in the backfield, there's a real good possibility that might happen. If I'm to the 2-man surface, I know they ain't no tight end. They ain't gonna be no double team. They can't double team a 5 technique if there's no tight end there. So that is eliminated from my possibilities of what can happen to me on the snap. I also know the runs to the tight end, and I know the runs to the tip to the split end. And there's not nearly as many runs. If you get right down to it, there's not a lot of runs to the split end side. Most people are gonna try to run to the tight end side. So I want him to know the backfield set, and I want him to know, am I to the 3-man surface or am I to the 2-man surface? And I was telling him today, and you've coached guys like it. We were talking about that boy played for me at Auburn. He's a coach down here in South Florida now, down in Miami. That he was one of those guys that loved to talk on the field, and he was, you know, had a little hot dog with him, and he was a good player, and I enjoyed coaching him, but he had a little stuff with him like that. And he would come out of the huddle and he'd say, two backs, possible isolation here. No, you know, what the hell? Nobody even listening to him, you know. And then one back, he'd say, zone or zone pass, one back in the backfield, you know. But he was having a good time with it. And he thought he was, and we'd say, yeah, good job, Charlie, attaboy, you know. But anyhow, he was a pretty good player and a good kid and everything. But he was aware of certain things. I think you can eliminate possibilities for them and narrow down on what may happen to them based on what they see. So another thing we talked about today, and you might have been in there, Coach, we talked about this. And I showed the coaches the other night, we looked at, and they saw a guard that was very light and a tackle that was very heavy. And Chad Leveille, our 3 technique, read what we call the tug block and made a tremendous play right out here. Well, he came to the boundary, but the next series, next time I got a chance to talk to him, I said, Chad, what a great job on that tug. And he's a sophomore now, and he dropped his head. And he said, I pre-snap read it. And I said, hey, even better. Even better. I pre-snap read it. He read a light guard and a heavy tackle, and he was playing a 3 technique. And he anticipated, not guessed, he anticipated tug block. We were talking about today also. This is another thing that we teach them to do based on vertical and horizontal line. If you get to the split end side especially, if we see 2 light guys over here, 2 light guys, and especially a team who is going to run the counter over. You get 2 light guys to the split inside. These guys right here holler. And that's just a word I use. You could call it ham sandwich. The word don't mean nothing. It's just yellow, yellow. All right. If they see heavy over here, they return the call. Yellow, yellow. Now we're alerted. Light over here, heavy over here, tells us there's a good possibility it's going to be counter over. If this is light over here, and they make a yellow call, now the call comes back. Eagle, eagle, Air Force. Anything that flies comes back. Now, what that equals to, a yellow and an eagle call is probably going to be pass or draw. And we're going to make jet calls. Because what they are is light to both sides. When it's light and heavy, it's usually a run. It's usually a counter. When it's light and light, it's probably going to be a So they start making jet calls. The linebackers now know that they are inside fitters, not over the top fitters. Because our front people are going to get up the field. that make any sense to you?
Yeah, I've tried that, and I don't know if our kids, you know, it's hard to work on it. You know what I'm saying? At my level, I've tried to do that, red, green type stuff, and kids are good at it for a while, but then they kind of forget about it after a while.
That's probably your fault.
It probably is. No,
Seriously.
no,
Probably
you're
is.
right.
I don't mean it ugly, it's probably your fault. It's something that really, my kids enjoy doing
Yeah,
because it makes them part of the game. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It makes them part of the game. They like it because they're part of the game and they're part of the decision-making process, which I think is good. And I don't mean that. Please.
No, no.
But I think it's and you know, we practice it and we always work on it in practice. They're making those calls all the time. Whether we're in team period, where we're in inside drill, it don't make a damn because we're scripting those things. Let me tell you another thing, Coach. I'm just throwing things out. Here's another thing. Always, not on Thursday or Wednesday, which would be your day, don't do hard counts on the last day of practice that week. And then they jump off sides and everybody gets pissed at them. And it's the day before the game and you should be looking for good, not bad. Start on it on Monday. I always script a hard count in team period and inside period. Always. There's always hard counts in it. It starts.
I made the kids aware of down and distance, like third and one, fourth and one, and I make them say a code word like chill or whatever, so they're not going to jump.
Well, here's the thing too. Yeah, and that's good too.
Yeah.
That's a good word. You know, you always want them aware. Awareness is such a great thing to a football player. I think a lot of the reason that I had an opportunity to speak at this clinic and other clinics because my kids played well, because awareness was a great thing that they, you know, I coach little things like that, and I'm aware of a little. They understand the game. And, you know, I hate to tell a story again because somebody heard this, but it was one of the most meaningful things that ever happened to me in my career. I was in Atlanta, Georgia years ago. Tony Mason. You remember Tony? Tony was the head coach at Arizona at one time. He was the offensive line coach at, he was the head coach at Niles High School in Niles, McKinley Niles in Ohio. Won a bunch. It was one of the great high school programs. He became the head coach, the line coach at Michigan. And I was sitting out there, and I was a young guy, Chris. I was sitting out there, and I was on the edge of the damn chair, and the guy was sitting up there. And I mean, I was so intrigued by him. He was such a good football player. He was such a good teacher. And I sat there and I thought, shit, that's what I want to be like that guy. You know, I want to be a knowledgeable guy. I want to be a guy that can help kids be better players. And he said this in his ending remarks. He said, you know, we come to these clinics and we share these ideas with each other. And we share with fellow coaches and we talk about what we're trying to get done and good ways to do this and things like that. And he said, you know what we all ought to really do? We all ought to go home and share all these things with the guys who really matter, and that's the guys who play for us. And I thought, boy, is that right? Is that not right? Is that not, we should share those things. We should share with the guys that play. Now, I never have done this in my 37 years of coaching. I never have said, would you please do this because we need you to do. That ain't what I'm talking about. But I make players aware. And it makes them better players because they're aware of what the offense can do, what they can't do, what they might do, what the possibilities are, and I eliminate some things so they don't have to worry about that. And that's basically what, this ain't even part of my damn talk, but that's one of the reasons that we play the counter good, was because we alerted each other that there was a possibility of the counter. Now, y'all understand anticipation and guessing is two different things, too. I ain't talking about guessing. But vertical and horizontal alignment, 3-man surface, 2-man surface, off the ball, light and heavy, all of that's important. It tells linemen things. It tells linemen. And I think that's where you start. When you start preparing you guys, that's where you start. And when you start simulating their offense, you don't need to start doing this Wednesday. You need to simulate it like they're going to see it on Friday night. You need to start Monday or whenever your first day of working. And if the night before The night before we start on the team, that's the very first thing I start looking at. And then I start looking at formations and what they do out of formations, things like that. And then Coach Saban's gonna make the game plan, and all my thoughts are gonna be, that's right, Coach. Be good to do right there, Coach. But anyhow, I get to coach that front four, so that's what we do.
If they're in a, say, a two-man service.
Right.
The guard
Split
pulls-
inside.
Yeah, on the split inside, the guard pulls. How would the defensive tackle,
Okay?
if he's backed up?
Okay, now, we say maybe under defense, let me get him lined up where I'll understand what you're asking, okay? How our guy would do this. Because this may not be the right way, it's just how our guy would do it. That guy, the three technique, okay, and the pull is which way?
To the inside.
To the inside,
And the
That
guard
way?
backed up, you know,
Okay.
vertically.
okay, and the guard's pulling inside, okay. We talked about that today, you and I talked about that today. And I got this on film, and I really wish I had this film to show you. The thing he wants to do is work this way, and he wants to work thinking of the next inside lineman. If that occurs right there, he wants to squeeze the hole and hold his point as long as the back is in the cylinder. He's always looking for this. He can't cross that center too quickly. If he does, we're going to be vulnerable to the cutback. And on my run tape, it's on there, and I never did really get to it, but it was I'm talking about inside pull, because that was one of the things I should be. I'm glad you asked that, so I'm finally getting the inside pull. Okay, so coach is the center. That guard pulls inward. I'm working into the line of scrimmage. He blocks back. I want to now get my hands on him, and I want to stay in my gap until the cutback possibility is gone. Okay? I do not want to wipe across this guy's face too quickly, because now I leave the gap to the backside. Okay? And what I did, what this shot was, and it's, here's what I had. I had the guard pulling, and I call that a C block, center blocking back. Okay? And I had my manager do this right here. And then I had him do that. And here's how I got him to do it. Real fancy. I just told him, he knows what the hell I wanted. Start that way, cut it back this way, okay? And Lavallee did this. The guard pulled, he started working, he jacked the center right there, held his point, and the manager went this way and then cut back, and he was right there to make the play. Okay, now, coach, in that thing was a couple of other shots. This guy pulled, there was no center. We got in the guard's hip pocket, and it had a great angle tackle by one of my guys the other night I showed you against Georgia. And I said, the guard pulled inward, and the center blew it. I think he should have blocked back. He didn't block back. That's their problem, not ours. Then also, I had one where the guard pulled, the center worked front side, and they tried to get him with the tackle. Too late. It was too late. It was the Peach Bowl against Clemson. He made the tackle right there. So we're working to the next inside line. If he's blocking back on you, we want to get our hands on him and hold your point until the ball gets out of the tackle box. If the center's not blocking back, get in the damn guard's hip pocket and run.
Say he's not in the 3, he's in a 2, and you have 2 gap there.
Right. Right.
He's already got inside responsibility, right?
Right. He's got inside responsibility. It's the same thing right here. Now, here's where it's different. If this guy pulls and this guy's a 3, he's a one-gap player. He's on the outside pull because it's tied together with the linebacker fit. He's an outside player. The guard pulls outward. He now can work out with the guard. Okay, because he's always got a linebacker who's got A gap responsibility. He's a 3, he's always got B gap responsibility. So he's expanding B. If this guy now blocks down on him, the next outside lineman, if he blocks down on him, he's going to play according to where this guy is. If the guy's got his head across the bow, he's going to wipe. If the guy's got his head behind, he's gonna U-turn and work down the heel line and cut the back off at the pass. Okay?
What about influence, Coach?
Right? Influence him out.
Right. And you got a trap coming.
Right. That right there.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that we get this, but we got that guy right there in here.
So it's your linebackers playing.
Right. It's the got defenders play. Right. Now, let me say, here's what you and I were talking about today too. If it's a two technique, then that takes on a whole different meaning.
Okay.
If he's a two gapper and he's a two technique, meaning the linebacker would be out here and have big gap responsibility. If he works out, now here's my read on, here's what I tell him now. If the guy, and this would apply to a four technique too, if the guy works outside my frame, I'm gonna look inside to the next inside line. If he's blocking back, he's gonna be off guard for trap. If the center's reaching, run. Because it's going to be zone or something. It's going to, if the center's reaching, run. If the center's blocking backside, it's off guard for trap. I can't run now, Coach, because my linebacker's got big gap. I got A gap. I can't get out of there like a three can. A three can get out of there because he's got an A gap defender. I know this. I know this. Y'all gonna say, well, there's one thing about that old boy that came down here from Louisiana. Him and the linebackers and him were tied together. And guys, that's where it's all about. If that ain't happening in your scheme, then you can get a hell of a lot better if you'll do that. It's all about, there's 8 gaps up there, and somebody's got to have each one of them. And it's based on blocking scheme, which one's got which. Let me show you this. I thought, did I do all right on that? You good on that, Coach? All right. This is something we talked about extensively today, or last night, or whatever, last week, whatever. And I had this on film that I think you might find interesting. Let's say that guy's right there. He's either tilted or shaded or where it don't make a damn. Okay? We call this angle of departure by the center a slip. And again, the word is immaterial. It's just our word. It can be called anything. And it means coaches that knows, and I'm avoiding him and going to the second level defender. Which means that the guard is now going to track me and he's going to try to get this guy. And the objective is to have him behind the ball and him behind the ball. And it can be the nose, it can be the 3, it can be the 5. It don't make a damn. They're going to do all of them that way, okay? So they want 2 defenders behind the ball at the point of attack. That angle of departure we call slip, avoiding me to get to the second level. I cannot keep the center off the backside linebacker. I can't do it. Now, what I have to do is this. Replace the linebacker on the heel line. I've now got to get behind the center, and now I've got to become the front side player because this guy, if he can't block the damn linebacker, he's already one man out in front of him. If he can't block the linebacker there, they ain't going to win the damn game, I can tell you that. Okay? Because that's an easy block. So the linebacker now becomes a cutback defender. And the nose becomes a front side defender. On slip ball. So we're playing gap responsibility based on the blocking scheme. Right? Now, the combination block to that is scoop. And see what I liked about, what I liked about this, what I liked about the film is the guys that we saw the kids doing this. See, the proof is in the pudding, as the old saying is. It ain't, a lot of guys can draw it down stuff on the board. But that's the reason I like to teach off the film, because you can see their ass doing this stuff. Now, this is scoop to us. Now he's going to work through the pad to get to the second level defender. And the guard's going to track him and try to take this guy over. Okay, we call that scoop. Now our whole theory is this: we never trade one for one. So what I would coach this guy right here to do is press this center, keep a half a body on this center, make the guard stay on me. If the linebacker didn't take the guard off, the linebacker would work now to fit off the nose. But I want the nose to occupy two of those guys. I want the nose to occupy two of those guys. And I think you have to put body on him. You have to put body on him to get that done. Okay. Now, our hand placement is in his sternum and on his bicep. Now, he's trying to go around to get to him. I want to do this, and I want to keep body on him. I can't hold him with my arms. I can't keep him from getting around there. But if I keep body on him, like that, I can keep him from doing it. And also, I talk to people that try to tell kids to do this. You grab by the hips, now go around and get him. And slingshot. I ain't never seen it done. I ain't never seen it done. I've heard it. I ain't never seen it done. Now, there was a shot that we looked at today, just before lunch, a zone. And Kevin Mawai was the center when he was in college, the guy that's the highest paid center in the NFL, the Jets. And you could see, y'all remember seeing his head go back? Or he had that hand in his throat like that. And the linebacker scraped and sat right there and fit. He could go either way. But they got the guard, thank you. They got the guard in the center, both tied up on, we got them both tied up with a nose tackle. That scoop, and I tell the nose he's got the back door. The linebacker is scraped and fit. He can go either way. Okay? And that's scoop block, that's slip block. And the angle of departure is what makes the difference. Okay? The next thing, working with that, now becomes this. Okay? That's the next thing. Okay, what the nose now sees is this. And remember what we started talking about, the angle of departure. That's what I talked to him about, the angle of departure. This is one angle, slip. This is one angle, scoop. This angle right here starts out the same way. But this guy right here is going to turn back and block that guy right there. It all starts the same way. It all draws the same reaction from the nose. Okay? But when he sees them pads go flat, now he's going to stick his foot in the ground and try to work back into the guard to give the defense width. Coach, you know me and you talking about all that gap blocking and everything. You need to always work for width for guys because what they're trying to do is reduce you down. So he's going to stick his foot in the ground and work back into the guard for width. And I tell him this, if you can even get the guard pushed back and don't let the guard get movement on you, you have helped our defense. And let me tell you, I watched film. When we played Illinois, they were really good at this. We played Illinois. They won the Big Ten that year. And I remember watching it and talking to the nose tackles. I swear, I have seen them take this guard, knock the damn nose tackle over the 5 technique. It's not a hard block for a guy, really. If the nose doesn't do a really good job, the center goes that way, the nose starts working that way. How hard is it to just run his ass over there? It ain't a hard block for a guy. But I've seen him knock him over them backside 5s. But if the nose does this, if he reads the back blocker, and is able to stick his foot in the ground and give some pressure back this way, then the guard don't knock him way over there, and the hole doesn't occur like they want it to. The defense has more width. We even tell the tackle, and it's on that dang run film too, Alabama does this. I call it a jab block. Down block, sneak up on the back of him and hit him in the back. You see the fire technique do this. He closes and squeezes back out, and he does it with his butt. He does this, and the guy hits him, and he turns and starts pushing back out like that. And the reason he did it was he knew that what they were trying to do was create separation between him and the next defender. So he was trying to give the defense width. He was backing into the guy to try to get width. Coach, that's what understanding does. When guys understand the game of football, they're able to do that because you've taught them the game. You've taught them what their offense is trying to get accomplished. That old boy played out here for several years, and now with the Cowboys, one named Leonardo Carson. I'm telling you, he felt that guy. He knew it was back. He knew it was down block. He played that. He played fire technique, squeeze. That guy hit him, and he just turned and started working his butt back. He's walking the guy, and he was closing that seam between him and the next outside defender. And let me tell you this. I know a lot of guys that tell the kids this. With him going one way and him going the other way, you know it's back block or gap block. I've had one kid who's told me he could see the guard. He would see the center go this way and realize that the guard was going the other way. I've coached one guy that told me he could see that. I don't think it's a great coaching thing, what I'm saying. I really don't. I think if you got Henry Thomas playing for you, who was All-Pro 7 times and 14 years starter in the NFL at nose tackle, hell, he might concede. He's the only one I ever had that ever said. Henry told me that he could see from a tilt. He could see the center going in one direction and see the same color coming this way. And let me tell you, he had fantastic eyes. He might, and there was one reason he would tell me that if he didn't, he could see that. But all the other guys nobody had ever been able to see it. I know guys that coach it. Him going one way, same color coming the other way. It's just gap block. It's too late most of the time, I can tell you that, by the time you see that. But the angle of departure, slips an angle, scoops an angle, back blocks an angle. And you'll see our noses do this. Attack the center, stick the foot in the ground, and work back into the guard. If the guard's head's across the bow, we try to wake him. If the guard's head's behind us, we don't want to back up, give ground, and try to get around him. We want to pivot now on the outside foot, pound him with the inside hand, and work around the heel line. And that ain't clinic talk. That's really the other one. And we looked at Lavallee today. This is really hard. He did a great job. I thought I enjoyed it more than anybody else, but anyhow, it was a great play, I thought. When the center comes off here and the guard comes off here, he's thinking double. And then the center leaks to the linebacker. He now has got to square those pads up and now not play double, come out of his double thinking into combo thinking. Y'all saw him do it, did you not? It really ain't that hard. You just got to do a good job working on it, and more important, the kids that are helping you show the players, whether they be defensive guys helping each other or you have a scout team offense, they've got to do a good job of coming down in there and banging the guy, staying on him, and then leaking to the second level. That's how he develops that feel. He develops the feel of double first, the guy leaks off, now it becomes combo. Now he's got to get squared up in the holes. Because if we don't, and we don't add him as part of the solution, we've traded one for one again, and that's a bad thing for us to do. And this takes, you know, I can work on this every day. I work hard on this every day. And the picture is so important. It's so important that they give each other a good picture where they learn to feel those things. But this is all possible. And it ain't only possible at college level. You can do the same thing. These kids, I guarantee I could teach these kids to do the same thing. Well, some of them. I don't know about my man there. I couldn't get him to go vertical on me today. He wouldn't go vertical pants on me today. Anything on this right here? Coach, you always get a question. Anything on this? On anything on this? This is not just true for the nose. It's the five goes through the same thing. They're going to slip and scoop fives. They're going to slip and scoop threes. It's the same deal. They got the same. They force for the same problem. The thing that you want to do is make sure that you've got a guy in every gap. When you got a guy in every gap, it means they got to beat you physically because you've got a guy in place. I don't want to do this. This is one of the things that, you know, I want to give guys a chance to be successful. And if you got every gap, you get people responsible for every gap, then you got a chance to be successful. You make them beat you physically. You can't win every game usually and everything, but by God, don't give them nothing. Don't mistake them into wins. Make them beat you. If they beat you, another one of the things that's been big in my life, I was watching, and some of you in here are old enough to remember this, some of you are not, but I was watching Dizzy Dean and Pee Wee Reese do the game of the week on Saturday afternoon. And I heard it was Bob Gibson, the great fastballer from the Cardinals, was on the mound. And for you younger guys who may not remember him, he's probably still the best fastball pitcher that there ever was. Yes. I mean, blazing fastball. Blazing. A big guy who was a really imposing looking guy, I'm sure, to face on the mound. It was a one-run game. The bases were loaded. There was 2 outs. And the pitching coach went to the mound. And Pee Wee Reese says to Dizzy Dean, Diz, if you're on that mound right now, partner, what do you throw? And he didn't say partner because he didn't call it. The other one, Diz called him partner. He said, Diz, if you're on the mound right now, what do you throw? And I'll never forget, as long as I live, guys, what Dizzy Dean's answer was. He said, partner, I tell you, if I'm Bob Gibson and I got a 100-mile-an-hour fastball, that's what I'm going to throw. He said, and I tell you right now, if he hits it out of here and they win this ball game, I'm going to go somewhere and get me a real good meal, drink me a cup of beers, go home and get me a good night's sleep, and come back to the ballpark ready to play tomorrow. If I throw the slider trying to trick him and he hits it out of here, I live with it the rest of my life. I thought, how much wisdom is in that? I mean, that is profound. That is so profound. And I remember, I go back in my career and I think about, I remember the Florida State game at LSU in 1989. 1989. It was 3rd and 16. We're leading the game by 2 points. It's late in the 4th quarter. It's 3rd and 16. And I've been reading where Pete Jenkins will not blitz. I told you all about that today. I mean, they stayed on me. Coach, I was telling them we won the SEC in '88. And we held 8 opponents for 1 touchdown less, and they complained all the time because I wouldn't blitz. And they got a 4-7-5 corner and a 5-flat safety. Who the hell they going to cover man-to-man, okay? And the thing we could do is play zone. In the 4-7-5, 4-7-8 corner, his name was Jimmy Young. And we'd have Jimmy at 7. He's at zone depth. And before the ball was snapped, we'd look and he'd be at 9. And everybody's on the field saying, Jimmy, move up. Jimmy ain't moving up. He don't even look at it. He was not going to get beat deep. So my job was always to get somebody underneath Jimmy Young. Because Jimmy Young's going to play deep. Jimmy knew he was 4'8". But anyhow, Florida State, we got this opportunity here, and I, honest to God, I let them talk me. Not that moment. It's just an accumulation of what I've been reading and things like that, and I blitzed them. Blitzed them. It wasn't me. I mean, it was not me, and it wasn't the kids. I blitzed them. The back out of the backfield, and the linebacker, they ran a wheel. And the linebacker did a great job running with the guy, but the guy caught the ball and gained 17 yards, 16 yards and an inch. They came out and measured. The guy made a first down. They took the ball, they drove the ball, kicked the field goal, and won the football game. And guess what? Like Diz said, I have lived with it. I have lived with that decision all my life. I should have played zone. I should have done what the kids do well. I should have played zone defense. We should have broken somebody up there and tackled a guy for 12 and a half yards and let them punt the ball, and maybe we could have held on to it long enough to win that ball game. But I didn't do it. I got talked into it by outside pressures. And it would have been like Bob Gibson throwing that slider with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball. What the hell was I doing blitzing with a 4-7 corner and a 5-flat safety and linebackers in the game who were run defenders basically more than pass defenders. So, I think this, the games that I remember being more painful than anything else were the games that we didn't do a real good job of letting the kids have a chance to win the games. Letting